Well, here's a lesson in supply and demand, the basic economic principle. When there's too much demand and not enough supply, why prices go up. But in the housing, we're just not able to bring in more supply, and the demand is just off the charts. We've got one of the greatest demographic shifts we've ever had in the U.S. history. We got people leaving with their feet, moving to better places. And that's going to the organic growth markets of Florida, Texas, and Arizona. And there's just not enough housing there for them. So in order to get that supply-demand equation back in balance, they decided to destroy the demand. What we'll do is we'll make it harder and harder for you to purchase a home. And therefore, the supply of homes will go into balance with the people who can afford to buy a home. What they'll do is they'll destroy the demand. You will own nothing and you'll be happy. Well, I don't think you're going to be happy. I don't think that's something any of us want you to do. Now, this is what's happening, is that the Federal Reserve has been talking about inflation, of course, and everybody's talking about inflation. 11.2% at the producer price level. That's pretty doggone high. PPI is not so much there. And that's where 11.2%, so we expect inflation to go higher. Now, personally, I think inflation is going to moderate. I've been wrong so far, but I do think it's going to moderate, and home prices are going to start slowing down a little bit. I don't see them backing up whatsoever. But the Federal Reserve has decided we're going to really slow the economy down. We're going to slow down housing, and we're going to raise interest rates, and they have. We as baby boomers, we need income. We need money coming in each and every month. There are very few places we can go to. You can't get any money in your savings accounts or CDs. So a lot of us have been forced going into the bond market where we get a little bit of interest and a little bit of income. Now, I have been talking about this for the last year and a half or 2 years, saying that we are getting to the end of the interest rate cycle, and it's time to get out of the bond market. And I know in my consulting that a lot of my clients still have a lot of money in bonds. And I'm going to tell you, look at this spike. This represents probably Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, their 30-year conforming rates. Right in the first part of the year, interest rates are running around 2.5% to 3%, 30-year fixed. And look at this interest rate spike go up and up and up. And last week at April 19th, it ended at 5.13%. It's almost a double in interest rates. Huge interest rate move. Going to cause lots of problems with people's mortgage payments. And as an aside, for all those baby boomers that we've been telling you to get out of bonds, this spike represents the worst quarter for bond investments in 157 years. You have to go back to the Civil War to find a worse time to own bonds. And this is from the Federal Reserve. Now, they've only raised once. They're talking about doing it 9 times. I don't see how that's even going to be possible. My personal prognosis is that they maybe raise one more time, maybe, because the economy is going to react very, very negatively to the brakes that are being applied to it. And I think the economy is going to slow dramatically in Q2 and Q3. And I think by the end of the Q3, we're going to see the Federal Reserve start to loosen up on their monetary tightening and actually maybe even go over to quantitative easing, because I think it's going to scare them, because I think we're going to slow down pretty precipitously. Although we do have a government that's doing amazing things and not things that you would expect it to do, so maybe they won't do that. But I do expect the economy to slow precipitously, and I think interest rates will come down. But in the long run, rates are going to go up. Now, they're talking about demand destruction. This just came out from Zero Hedge, and it looks like pending sales and existing home sales have dropped about 7.5%. Now, I think this chart is a little suspect, because it's a seasonally adjusted annual rate. So oftentimes it's an accounting that takes place sometimes in February to adjust some of the under the numbers, and it really throws things off for a month. And I think maybe this might be evident for February, because this is kind of a 60-day chart. Here in Phoenix, Arizona, we had absolutely no slowdown whatsoever in demand. We had absolutely no slowdown in price appreciation, absolutely zero. That's why I think this might be suspect. It certainly bears paying attention to for the next month or two. We'll know if it's actually in place or not. Now, this is courtesy of Charles Nenner Research. Dr. Nenner is allowing me to use this proprietary chart. We're talking about here, this dotted line is April 26th, and this is the peak of interest rates for the 10-year according to his forecast. This is going to give you a window, maybe 30, 45 days. I don't know how much it's going to back up. I don't even know if it's going to. It just forecasts that this is a strong likelihood that it's going to, in which case gives you a chance to lighten up. Also gives you a chance to refinance, maybe buy something with a 30-year mortgage. Here's a window of opportunity. It's coming. We're talking about home prices in the United States. This again coming out of Federal Reserve electronic data. It is, it is like 60, 90 days old, but it shows absolutely no slowdown in prices whatsoever. We see home appreciation continuing all across the United States. This chart clearly shows the explosive phase going up right here. It's just clear as a bell. I see absolutely no slowdown in home prices anywhere. This is my proprietary stylized chart. This doesn't have all the squiggles. It does show the corrections that it absolutely called. So this doesn't necessarily mean it's going to have to remain accurate. Doesn't say that at all. But it's been deadly accurate. It certainly forecasts the corrections, and it forecasts the accumulation phase just beautifully. Now we're leaving the accumulation phase and we're going into the explosive phase. Now, according to my chart, we have another leg up, a significant leg up. So I don't think that this slowdown is going to be the big one. I think this is only going to be for a couple quarters, and then I think we're going to be back and business will start up again. And up here, this is probably another 18 to 24 to 30 months away, is the cycle completion. Now, in my lifetime, I've gone through 3 of them. This is nothing to be concerned about. It's just something to be aware of. The 2008 was a cycle completion. It was also a bubble. Now, I don't see a bubble at this point, and I'll tell you that in the great markets of Florida, Texas, and Arizona, where population is just pouring into, people want to make their lives there. They want their lives to start all over again. They're going to these great organic markets. I don't think if we have a cycle completion that they're going to be affected anywhere near as much as, say, the Midwest, like Chicago or Illinois, St. Louis, Madison, Wisconsin, Minneapolis, New York City, New Jersey, anywhere on the West Coast, and of course, places in California and San Francisco where prices are just out of whack and people are leaving. Population is leaving California in a great big exodus. Those places would probably have more of a decline than the great organic growth markets are, just because the population is shifting. Because literally, we have one of the greatest demographic shifts our nation has ever seen underway right now. Now, the good news to all this is that we are investors. We're in landlords. We rent our housing out. Now, if this demand destruction where they're trying to move out the buyers, now it's not going to affect most of the investors. Cash buyers are totally unaffected by interest rates, just absolutely not affected by them at all. A lot of my investors put 40, 50% down, 60% down. We put leverage on just as a business decision, not necessarily needed to acquire properties. So what this is doing, it's removing the FHA buyers, the VA buyers, the marginal buyers, the 3% down, 5% down, 10% down. People really are struggling, and they're not going to get a house. They are going to be forced to rent because they still won't be able to own a home, but they're going to need a home, and they're going to be renting from us, which goes back to that saying that's prevalent right now, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. I don't think this is what you should be doing. I think you should be out buying a property. I think you should be scrimping everything you can together and go buy a property. If you're my age, you should have 2. If you're getting ready, you should follow our strategies and get 10. If you get 10 free and clear properties, your income stream is just phenomenal. Your life will become so much better. But you need to go buy something. And look at here. Rent is going up and is continuing to go up. This little leveling off is the great financial crisis, the greatest bubble in real estate history in the United States, and rent never declined. It just leveled off. Rent just continued to come in. Those people that had properties, their rentals acted as a lifeboat for them because their income kept coming in month after month after month. And if you owned a business and your business was affected by the recession, your rentals just kept sending you money month after month after month, and your family was just fine. That's called a lifeboat. That is what this is supposed to do. and it's showing that what we expect is going on. Our forecast is being confirmed. And look at this. Rentals just continue to go up. This is the markets all across the country. It's not just in one market that's skewing everything. All the markets across the country are doing well. The highest, of course, is in the West. That would be Arizona, Nevada, and Texas. They're just doing absolutely outstanding. Now, I would talk about looking at our tenants. We are thinking if things slow down a little bit, we want to consider getting to a little more conservative underwriting. We want higher credit, maybe a little more reserves, a little higher FICO scores, sure that their job is stable, because our tenants are going to be sending us money. We want to make sure we have very good tenants. We want to maximize the tenant, not necessarily maximize the rent. I'm an author. You can get my book anywhere in the United States. It's most prevalent in Barnes & Nobles, Amazon, of course. You can get it all across the globe. How to Create a Real Estate Money Machine, Retire with Income is my business plan. I think if you follow it, you'll do very, very well. Please subscribe. Please make comments and read our comments, descriptions down below. My very best to you. Bye-bye now.